What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender, your host. With me, of course, Craig Mish, and it is time, Craig. March Madness is here. You got play-in games going on, but nobody really cares about those. Thursday is the first day of the tournament. Now, folks out there, we're instead of going like a full hour today and trying to get through every single game, Craig and I are going to piecemeal it a little bit here. We're going to go with talking about Thursday's games today, and then tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, again, we're going to do another special Wager Alarm live stream where we're going to hit those Friday games. Now, Craig, lots going on here in the tournament right now.
Yeah,
A lot of teams are getting a lot of buzz. All the 12-5 upsets are being screamed about by everybody. But we want to talk about this not just from a point of view about the brackets, but we want to look at this more from a wagering standpoint. Point spreads, over-unders. How are you feeling about the tournament just in general, overall right now?
yeah, I've dove pretty hard into the Thursday, and this is usually how I'll do it. Is I'll look at the first day, and then I'll go to the second day, and I think that while there may not be as many upsets outright that a lot of people predict, I think that we will have a lot of underdogs covering on Thursday. So I am more or less prepared in terms of wagering to go along those lines. And, there's not a lot of double-digit lines in the NCAA tournament, and that just tells you that there's a good shot of all of these underdogs not just to cover but to win outright, which does pose the question, would you take some money line parlays at plus 130, plus 140, and put that together and try and make some money? You probably could. Last year, a ton of dogs covered, not a lot won. So we'll see what happens this year. But, truth be told, there's a lot of factors that go into this thing. And as we go game by game here, I'll kind of dissect some of them, which include some coaching issues, which include location, where games are played, and time changes. Remember, these teams just found out that they got into the tournament on Sunday night, and it is a quick turnaround for some of these early games on Thursday. That's relatively quick. They got to all of a sudden practice, game plan, and then 72 hours later, they got to get ready to play a game. So that'll factor in a little bit for that. And the other thing that I think that people tend to ignore, and they also don't really look at it from the proper vantage point, is that these teams that are in the play-in games, not necessarily the 2-16 seeds, that's not something that I'm talking about, but the teams that are the 11s or the 7s, whoever's getting in, after playing a game, it's like they're playing with house money after they've won this one, and they're playing on fumes, and they tend to win and cover a lot in these tournaments. So don't discount those when you're filling out your bracket, and when you just see Maryland there and you just fully assume that, they're going to wax whoever they play because the other two teams needed to win to get it in, and you can't look at it that way.
Right. Well, it's great that you point out that Maryland there, because everybody's looking at Belmont as winning that play-in game there, and Belmont is a very fast-paced, up-tempo offense. They score a lot of points, and there are a lot of doubters there who think that the Terps are going to end up crumbling in that first round. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen there. But I think that Belmont could give them, if they win, could give them enough of a run for their money that Maryland's trip to the big dance could be a little on the short side.
Yeah, it could. And Maryland is one of the worst teams against the spread all season long. So naturally, I'll be going against them in the first round.
I'm wavering. I really am. And I've probably changed that part of the bracket way too much, because I'm also a little down on LSU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they lost their coach. He got suspended. And now it's what are they going to piece together here? That one region right there is it's really kind of interesting there. And I'm trying to figure out who's going to come out of that. I mean, that's a tough one for me.
It is. LSU, they'll probably end up winning their first game. It'll be closer than people expect. They may even blow out Yale. I'm not sure. It's just two completely different styles. We'll get to that in a minute. But LSU, I don't think wins more than one game in the tournament. I think that it's a quick exit for them. They didn't look good at all against Florida. I would expect them to be a one-and-done team. I think a lot of the SEC teams are in trouble here in the first round. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right. Well, let's. Why don't we just go game by game here for the Thursday slate? We'll go through, share some thoughts, maybe give a lean or two here, and if we like it. Let's go with a pick. So why don't we let's just start right off the bat with actually a team that's actually been a real big favorite of mine over the years. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. Minnesota, for whatever reason in the world, I was always on. I know, I'm telling you, I was always on Minnesota. And every time I picked them, they ended up in the Sweet 16. You go back and you look at their
Minnesota.
history.
Wow.
I'm telling you, before they got hit with the sanctions and they ended up getting banned from the tournament for a couple of years, Minnesota was like almost a lock for the Sweet 16 every time they went in there. I'm not a huge fan of Louisville. I'm really not. I mean, I get that they're a good team. They're actually, they're a 5-point favorite in this one here, but I don't know, man. I think that Minnesota can kind of slow down the pace a little bit here on Louisville and kind of keep this game a little on the close side for me and possibly even win this outright.
Yeah, if I had to pick a side here, it would be Minnesota. But the way these two teams are playing right now, and again, a very early start time, and whenever that happens, I always lean toward the under. These kids are just waking up and then having to get out of bed and play. And this isn't like football. These guys have to shoot and make threes right away. I don't see that happening. Louisville's last 9 games, the under is 7-2. And Louisville's last 9 games, they've only shot above 41% from the field one time. Minnesota is an under team. They've shot just 40% from the field on the road this season a couple of times. 12 out of their last 17 games for Minnesota have gone under the total. So it's 136. I'm going to play under 136 in the first game of the tournament on Thursday.
I like it. I definitely like it. And I agree with you. They're so not ready and prepared to play at this hour of the day. So I like that one. And again, for me, Minnesota, in my brackets, I'm just going to lock them down for me.
Yeah, I would too. I'm
going to do that for me. Let's get to the LSU Yale game because this one's actually I like this game. Yale coming out of the Ivy League conference, everybody kind of laughs them off because that's what it is. But unlike the other Ivy League teams like Harvard or Princeton, who are slow, methodical, really rooted in fundamentals, Yale is a team that's averaged over 80 points per game this season right now, and they do play an up-tempo game. And if you're worried about LSU and not having their coach and having to try and make the different adjustments here, I don't know, man. This definitely it's a long shot to call for as far as an upset goes. But I do think that with the point spread here, I think what is it 7.5 right now?
Yeah.
I'm going to take Yale in the points.
Yeah, I will too, but I'll explain to you why. And the good news about this game, and sometimes it's good news when we do our college football live streams, this is one of those games that's very easy for me to call. You will know right away if we will cover this game with Yale. This is not going to be – you're not going to need to wait until halftime or the second half to figure this thing out. If Yale is shooting and they're making their shots – then this is going to be a close game Yale could cover and win. If LSU just muscles them around, which is certainly possible, then Yale almost has no shot. A lot of these teams, Howard, are shooters teams. And so you're going to see some 12 seeds, some 13 seeds that a lot of people are going to like, that people are going to pick for upsets, and they're going to get blown out. And the reason why is because they're not going to be able to shoot. You just never know in college basketball when that's not going to happen. So LSU opened up at 8, like a lot of favorites in the tournament. They're down to 7.5. People pound the underdogs. Their coach, of course, was suspended. They have an interim coach. They didn't look good in the SEC tournament. Yale has not been an underdog in any game since January. That's how good they've been this season. And, of course, as you mentioned, they play in the Ivy League. Yale can score. 81 points per game is 24th in the nation. And LSU can rebound the ball. So if Yale doesn't make shots, Howard, they're going to lose because LSU is going to get every single rebound. I do think that Yale has a chance to win the game outright. I'm going to take the 7.5 points, but it's one of those games where if we lose this one, you're going to get killed. It's not
like
going to be. It's
four
not
and a half.
Close.
4.5 minutes in, it's like 22-6,
and then it's over at that point. LSU buckles down and they slow the game down, and that's it. But if the game is tied at the half or Yale is up 2 or down 2, they are going to cover and maybe even win this game. So there's not a lot of confidence in LSU going into the tournament. But that being said, they should be able to handle Yale in what I think will end up being a close game.
All right. I love it. I love it. See, you're playing right into my hands here, Craig. You're playing right into my hands. Next game on the slate here, New Mexico State, Auburn. Auburn was a 7-point favorite. To start off, it's down at 6.5 right now. It's one of your everybody's infamous 12-5 seeds, and I got to tell you, man, I look at the Aggies, And they actually look like they're an interesting team here. They actually haven't lost since January. You want to talk about Yale not having been an underdog since January? New Mexico State hasn't lost since January either. Unfortunately, though, they're only 5-4 against the spread in their last 9 games. So that kind of what do you? I mean, is this one of those games where you're going to know right from the start if Auburn jumps out to that big lead? Are you concerned? Where are you leaning on this one?
No, because I think that the game is going to be close. New Mexico State is a team that plays very deep. They play like 10, 11, sometimes 12 guys. They constantly put pressure on the opponent. I don't think this is a great matchup for Auburn either. They kind of came out of nowhere late in the SEC season. Bruce Pearl is a guy who has a lot of experience coaching in the big dance, but I do think that the Aggies will be able to stay close in this game. And also, Auburn has to travel to Salt Lake to play in an early start here. So it's basically a body clock time of about 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. They haven't played in any game like that all season long. New Mexico State's not that far from Salt Lake City, probably a couple hours. I'm gonna take another underdog here, and I'm gonna take New Mexico State. Would not surprise me to see them win the game outright. And I also like the under a little bit here too, another under 143. But just for the purposes of this one, I'll take another team and another underdog in New Mexico State. And really, a lot of the games that we're going to be talking about, I'm going to go under on.
Yeah, I'm with you here. I mean, again, you and I talked about this real briefly at the end of yesterday's live stream, where we did start talking about how we were going to start pounding the unders on this one, just at least in this first round. And I agree. So I'm with you here. I'm leaning on the under here. Was it 143 in this one here? But again, I'm looking at New Mexico State as the team that that intrigues me the most. All right, next game here on the slate, Vermont versus Florida State. Now, I actually got a chance to watch the Seminoles when you and I were in New York.
Right.
That was the game that was on at Foley's when we were just all sitting there hanging out. Very, very interesting team. Good speed, a lot of good rebounding there. They lost to Duke in the ACC finals, but they slapped around the other teams in the ACC, and that was kind of that to me kind of piqued my curiosity. Vermont, again, one of those teams where you're like, their conference is a little on the soft side. They've been to the big dance before, and this is they're not a stranger to it. But I think I'm going on FSU in this one here. I know it's a big point spread as far as 10.5 goes. I just think that this is one of those games where I think the favorite eats.
Yeah, this is one that I would take Florida State minus the points. It's a lean for me. It's not a pick, but FSU is playing great. They have played very close with North Carolina and Duke. I don't think Vermont has the talent like some of these other small schools do in the tournament. Last year, Vermont lost to UMBC, Maryland, Baltimore County. UMBC beat Virginia last year as the 16 seed over the 1. That was fluky because it was Virginia. So they're coming out of a conference that's not that great. They're only 3-5 against the spread over their past 8 games, and they got 3 kids on the same team, all with the last name of Duncan. Does that mean anything to you? I don't know.
I don't know. Does it? Are they related?
Yeah, they are. They're all brothers. Yeah. Yeah. One of them plays. The other 2 don't play that much. Either way, I'm going to ride the hot hand here with FSU. One of the few big favorites that I'm going to take on Thursday. I'm going to take the Seminoles.
Okay. All right, man. Listen, I can kind of get behind that. I really can. I'm not going to lie. I've been, again, like I said, I watched the game while we were in New York together, and it impressed me. They impressed me. They definitely did. Next game on the slate, Bradley, Michigan State. Dude, 18.5 points. Michigan State. Tom Izzo is ridiculously experienced. And, when you see a point spread like this, I don't know, man. This to me isn't like football where, you're just giving up too many points. Like this to me is the blowout of the bracket. And I could see Michigan State just really destroying them.
Yeah, Bradley with almost no tournament experience, kind of a miracle for them to even get in this year. The good news for them is they're 5-0 playing a neutral court, which means those early season tournaments they did very well in against the spread, but those were like 3 months ago. MSU, they're 24-10 against the spread this season. Bradley's just 16-17 against the spread. So you can see there's a little bit of a luck factor there of them getting in. I don't think Michigan State wins this thing. I don't think they get to the Final Four, but they have been dominant in past first rounds in the NCAA tournament, and I think they will be here as well. Also, remember, if they're up 15 or 16 at the end of the game, teams are just shooting threes against them, trying to get back in. There's no fouling. They're holding the ball. They're covering the spread. I think they'll win by like 22, 23. So another favorite here. We'll take Michigan State minus the 18.5.
All right. Next up is our play-in game. Belmont. I don't even know who Belmont's playing anymore. I've been looking at the brackets,
Temple?
all day. Oh, Temple.
Yeah.
Go Owls. No. I'm going to go with Belmont winning that play-in game, but again, it's Maryland.
We got to still wait to see that. We got to wait to see what the spread's going to be against Maryland. We have no idea yet. We have to wait for that game to be completed.
I did see somewhere that Maryland was already getting giving 5 points. Like I don't remember where I saw that.
Without even having
without even knowing who the opponent was, they were giving 5. But I mean, listen, I can't. Confirm.
Well, you obviously can't bet. Can you bet that without them being there? No,
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
No.
All right.
Move
so
on.
then, Northeastern Kansas. Now, you took some notes on this one here. You don't like Kansas at all.
At all. No.
Not one bit.
Not one bit. I think they lose the game. Northeastern, I think, wins. They're a great three-point shooting team. Kansas did not play well all season long. 2 of their best 5 players, Azubuike, LeGerald Vick, who carried them last year all the way, I think, into the 8 or to the 4. I think they're going to get knocked out quick. Northeastern 6-0-1 in their last 7 games against the spread, 50% from the field. Kansas could win this game. I definitely don't think they cover, and I think Northeastern has a great shot to win this one. I do. So I'm going to take Northeastern plus the points, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. No hesitation there whatsoever.
Nope, not at all. Kansas is a great team at home. If the game was in Kansas, fantastic. It's not. So no go for me on them.
Man, I have such a hard time with this, but you know what?
Don't look at the name. Don't look at the name.
No. Well, I mean, that's obviously it's something that always comes into play when you start talking about that. And especially a team like Northeastern, who really doesn't have a whole lot of experience in the tournament either.
They don't, but they've had a great year. I followed them all throughout the season. They've covered a ton. They can shoot great. It's on a neutral site, and I'm just not a fan of Kansas this year. They had like 3 or 4 twice 2-3 game losing streaks. It's not there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Bill Self's a great coach. He's carried them a lot of times into the tournament, but Azubuike, who was one of their best defenders and offensive players, is out. Vic was also very good, and he got hurt a couple of weeks ago, so he's out of the tournament too. I just can't take Kansas.
All right, beautiful. There you go. The next game, another 5-12 matchup here. Now, this is the game everybody loves.
Everybody loves
I'm
Murray
super
State.
Excited to talk about Oregon versus.
Okay, we're gonna. I thought we were doing.
No. I'm just previewing for tomorrow.
Gotcha.
That Oregon and Wisconsin is the 12-5 game that I'm watching the closest. This one here, Murray State versus Marquette. I mean, it's everybody loves Jay Morant, and everybody loves Marcus Howard from Marquette. Like, those are your 2 top guys there.
He's like Marcus Howard outside of Zion Williamson for Marquette. He's probably one of the 2 or 3 most exciting players in the tournament. Marcus Howard's a great player, but NBA, I'm not so sure. On the other side, Murray State has a kid that'll be in the NBA, but Howard is a great player. He's very electric, but Marquette, I'm sorry to cut you off. Marquette struggled a lot in the second half of the season, So
you're leaning on Murray State then?
A little bit, but I also think that both teams are struggling defensively, so they will score. Both teams rank very high in terms of the rankings. I think this will be the 70s at least for both teams. So it's another one of those 5-12 matchups. Murray State 4-2 against the spread in their last 6 in the tournament, but they've never advanced to the Sweet 16. Maybe this is the year. I know a lot of people do like Murray State. I kind of like them a little bit too, but I like the over in this one. I see a very high-scoring game, maybe the highest-scoring game of the day, and there's a reason why this total is one of the highest in the day too, is because they expect that. So I'm going to go with the line. The line is pushing you to take the under. I'm going to go over 149.5 here.
Okay, I can dig that. I can definitely dig that. Next game on the slate. I mean, can we just bypass this one altogether here? I know you
Which
love
one? The
them.
Gators?
Oh, the Gators.
Can't bypass the Gators.
I
Can't
know
do
you're a
that.
huge Gators guy. You've watched every game, I'm sure. You know this team inside and out. Nevada, 2-point favorite right now. I mean, I don't even have to ask you where you're leaning. I don't, do I?
Well, my bias tells me Florida, but I will also say this. Going into the season, Nevada was supposed to be one of the best teams in the country, and it absolutely didn't work out. 19 of Nevada's 32 games went under the total. The Gators tend to go under the total. I can tell you now exactly how this game is going to be, Howard. With a minute to go, the game is going to be tied or it's going to be very close. And Florida has the experience of being in the tournament. They should have even beat Auburn. They beat LSU. They're playing very good right now. Nevada's 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 games coming into the tournament. How could you possibly take them? I'll take Florida plus the points.
I just like busting your balls, Craig.
That's fine. Bust them all you want.
I'm gonna put them in a vice. We're just squeeze her and tighten it up. All right, Kentucky.
Now we're getting into the danger zone. The evening games on the first day. Now it's the sweating time here. Usually those games tend to get good on that first night.
Really? Abilene Christian.
Well, maybe not that one. But people forget how good the NCAA tournament is, and then the night games begin on that Thursday, and everybody's home, and things get wacky. So that's usually how this happens. But
doesn't everybody just take off the entire day? Like, doesn't everybody call in sick?
I mean, we have been in at Tout Wars the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a full day of the NCAA tournament in years. I mean, since Tout Wars, basically. I mean, we're going on like 4 or 5 years.
So are you gonna just take the day off on Thursday?
Well, I mean, every day's a day off, Howard. You know. What do I really do? You know.
I hear you. All right. So Abilene Christian against Kentucky, spreads 22.5. Go ahead. Break it down. To me, it's a lot of points, but
I love the under here. I do. Kentucky, there's this misnomer that they're like a 90-point team this year. They are not. And Abilene Christian, this is like just a prey for them to stay in this game. This is a horrible matchup for them. They had two of their best players were kicked off the team a couple of weeks ago, so give them credit for staying in the game. But here is the situation for Abilene Christian. Here's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to basically wind this clock down every single possession and get it to where they can try and keep the game close in the end. And they can't score. This is a team that's only going to score 50 points in this game. So could Kentucky win 80-50 or 86? They certainly could, but I don't think they have any interest in doing it. This is the kind of team that they can save their bullets for the next round. I think the game goes way under the 132. Kentucky maybe gets into the 60s. Abilene Christian may end up scoring the least points in the first round of the tournament. So a lot of pressure also brought by Kentucky at different times with John Calipari. I'll go under 132 in this game.
Okay, but you don't want to touch the spread at all.
Not really, because Kentucky could win by 17 and
just take their foot off the gas and not really care about it.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Izzo's teams on Michigan State are a little bit of a different story. Those they will push you right to the end in terms of offense. But Kentucky's looking for a deep run here. They just came off a grueling SEC tournament, and I don't think Abilene Christian has a shot in this one. I really don't. One of the few teams that I would hate to say that about, but I don't think so. When you have two of their top 6 players suspended, and you're going against arguably one of the top 6-7 teams in the country, you just have to do everything possible to just hold it to as few possessions as possible. And I think that's what they're going to do and pray.
All right. Next game on the docket. Here we go. I like this one here. St. Mary's against Villanova. Now, Villanova just won the Big East tournament. They are defending champs, if I'm not making a mistake. And St. Mary's actually coming off of a huge win against Gonzaga.
They are.
Everybody's flipping at Gonzaga. This is the year Gonzaga wins the tournament. This is the year. I've heard that over and over again ad nauseum. And when a team like St. Mary's kind of beats you up there in the conference tournament, it kind of makes you wonder, as far as whether or not Gonzaga's beatable. But more, for me, it's more about looking at the momentum that St. Mary's could be carrying in here. I know it's a tough matchup. The Big East tournament is always a big tournament where just everybody pounds on each other. It's a very physical tournament there. But if you look at the region here, basically it's a home game for Villanova, like in their backyard.
Yeah, no, it is, but I don't think this Villanova team is as good as they have been in the past. St. Mary's, to me, is one of those teams that can go very deep into the tournament. They beat Gonzaga, as you mentioned. I think that this is going to be a close game, and this Wildcats team they lost a ton of guys from last year's squad. They are playing very good basketball. We were right across the street from Madison Square Garden when they won that thing. But another team that I'm going to take, another underdog, I'm going to take St. Mary's in this one. They played great all season long. They really have. They get no credit whatsoever in that conference because Gonzaga gets all the love, and here they were beating Gonzaga 60-47 in the final. So I'm going to take St. Mary's here.
You're going to take St. Mary's. You're going to take the points. It's 5.5. Does St. Mary's, can they win this one outright, do you think? Or is this just a matter of keeping it close?
I think they can. The crowd will be heavy behind Villanova. There's no doubt about that. So hard to pick an outright upset on that one, but I'll take the points, plus 5.5.
All right. Another Big East team coming into play here. Seton Hall against Wofford. Wofford favored by 3. Here's another team. Hasn't lost since January. What's with all these teams who just haven't lost since January?
Wofford is great. I've watched them. They've made me some money this year. I think they're fantastic. I don't like Seton Hall at all.
Nobody does.
They were great at home. They were not good on the road. They definitely had some big wins in the Big East tournament when they lost to Nova in the championship. They could have won that game too. I think they're coming in mentally shot from that game. When you lose a game like that, and then you have to go play, and you don't get a good seed, and then you're coming against that Wofford team is going to be so hungry in this one, and they can put it up. They can score 2. Not even a question for me. I know the spread is only 3, but I'll take Wofford in this one.
Okay. Yet another Big East team here, Syracuse going up against Baylor. Now here's an interesting one because this Syracuse team, they're not very good. They're not as good as they've been in the past.
No, but they always find a way.
They always do. And now you've also got this whole added element of, do they win this for Coach Boeheim? He had the whole car accident thing. Everybody rallied around him. Yeah, he killed some dude.
Shouldn't be laughing about that. I apologize for that. Bad luck on my part.
But so way to go, Craig. Thanks.
Killed some dude. I'm laughing.
So this is one of those situations where Syracuse always does find a way to win games in the tournament. They are going to rally behind their coach, who is just absolutely revered in all of upstate New York. I've never seen a single guy get as much love as Boeheim gets in the Syracuse area there. So, but Baylor's a tough team. They're a big team. Good on the glass. Really good rebounding team here. I don't want to touch this game because I'm just not a Syracuse fan at all. I just don't like them, but I'm not sure that Baylor's a team I want to go with.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that Syracuse will keep the game close. Neither team scores particularly well. Syracuse lost 5 of their last 7 games, and both teams rebound the ball well and have had shooting slumps. So another one of the plays that I'll go under 132 points here. And again, when you're playing the unders, you look at the spreads that are tight, -2, +2, -3. Why? Because at the end of the game, if it plays out the way Vegas says, and it's a 1-possession game or a 2-possession game with a minute to go, the fouling element is gone.
Right.
When it's a 2 or 3 possession game, let's say, for example, that Syracuse is up by 6 with 30 seconds to go. Baylor is going to foul the next foul, 2 shots, foul, 1 shot, foul. They miss both, foul, and it's just going to keep happening, and the game is going to go over, but not when it's close in a 1 or 2 possession game. And this could be that kind of game. I'll go under 132.
Okay, I dig it. And that leaves us with one final game here. Old Dominion, Purdue. Boilermakers favored by 13. That line actually got bigger.
Yes, it did. It was 12. Now it's 13. I have no idea why.
I don't
Purdue,
know either. But I mean, how do you go with Purdue?
you can't do it.
In any kind of tournament action here? What is it, like 4 or 5 times they've lost in a row now in the first round?
Yeah, 4 straight losses in the NCAA tournament in the first round. 2 were in overtime. Now, understand this. A 14 seed has only beaten a 3 seed 3 out of the last 21 times, so you got to have some stones to pick an outright win. But Old Dominion is a non-sexy, low-scoring team. The total is 129. You have to ask yourself, man, they're 13-point favorites, but yet the total is only 129. I've sided with Old Dominion a couple of times over the last month, and they haven't failed me. I'm going to ride them again here with a lean, on Purdue, but I don't love it. Probably just a pass for me outright. I could see Old Dominion covering this one too. I'm going to stay away.
Okay. I'm good with that. So out of all the Thursday games here, where's your favorite line? Where
I like Wofford -3. I like St. Mary's plus the points. I like Abilene Christian Kentucky under 132. Northeastern +7. Michigan State a little bit. I like New Mexico State plus 6.5. I like Yale plus 7.5, and I like to get off to a good start. Take that under in Minnesota Louisville.
All right, there you go. Well, I think that kind of covers it all. Here, look at you, all big smiles. You're like, yes.
I hope so, man. I hope so. This is always a stressful time. There's so many games going on at once. You want to get off to a good start. Historically, for me, I've done very well on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And then Sundays is when things just go absolutely sideways, usually right before you head to the Sweet 16. And then it gets super tough next week. The lines are super tight. No team is favored by 10 next week. It's all 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. It gets crazy. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
They're pick'ems. For
pretty
the most
much
part.
Starting next week.
All right.
Duke, I take it back. Duke will be a big favorite over probably whoever they play next week if they get in, past the first 2 rounds.
North Carolina as well. I mean, they are playing some insane ball right now too.
Probably so.
Did you fill out some brackets here, Craig?
I did one so far. I'll do one more tomorrow. That may be it.
And how many number 1, number 2 seeds do you have in your Final Four?
I did one earlier today. I had North Carolina in there, and that was it. I think, of all the 4. Yeah, and then I'll do one with North Carolina. I think I had North Carolina beating Michigan in one, and then the next one that I do, I'll have Gonzaga in the winning it all. I think I had Duke losing in the 8 or the 4. You can't have Duke losing in the first 2 rounds. I understand that, but I'm not going to pick Duke to win it all in any of the ones that I do. None.
Oh, see, and every time I don't pick Duke to win it all, guess who wins it all?
Duke.
Every time.
Okay.
Every time. I'm going super uber chalky here. I'm going Duke, North Carolina. But I'm going to float in some interesting plays.
You have
here
no
and there.
shot of winning any of these if you but go right ahead.
Of course not, dude. Listen, to sit here and fill out the perfect bracket, come on. Really?
Right. So take a lot of dogs.
I did take a lot. Well, see, that's the thing is that I did take a lot of dogs. I took them in the first and second rounds, but at some point you got to turn around and say, you know what, is St. Louis at a 13 seed? Are they going to upset Duke in the Sweet 16? Like, I just can't see that.
But are you filling out brackets to try and win the bracket competition or just to pick the winner? Because if you're trying to win the competition, you do not take Duke.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to pick the winner.
Taking Duke, you will not win your competition. 49% of the brackets on CBS have Duke as the winner.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the odds that out of that 49% of the people that are doing this, that someone's going to get lucky and pick all of the teams that are
again, it's all about game theory. There's a lot of game theory that goes into this, and you have to sit there and you have to turn around. And yes, it's about being contrarian with certain things, which is why, yes, I'll sit here tomorrow and I'll bang the drum for Wisconsin over and over again against Oregon, because everybody and their grandma is picking Oregon to win that one.
Wonder why?
Yeah, I have no idea. I have zero clue. But I don't want to ruin tomorrow's live stream because I've got all sorts of data to back it up. All sorts, Craig.
Well, I look forward to it.
All right. Well, so that's going to do it for us here on tonight's Wager Alarm live stream. Again, Craig and I will be back on Wednesday, tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to cover the Friday games. And then on Friday, Craig and I are going to be back here again, 9 p.m. Eastern. This time, though, a little MLB action, Cy Young, MVP odds, player props for baseball. Dude, we're on the brink right now, just hours away from Seattle against Oakland, and I'm kind of psyched.
I can't wait to sleep right through that thing. It's gonna be great.
Man, not me, baby, not me. Gonna be wide awake, right? I haven't slept in 3 out of the last 4 days, but that's all right. I'm gonna be up.
You enjoy it.
All right. Well, big thanks to our producer Matt Wolf. Big thanks to Craig, as always, for all the work that he puts in and all the work that he does here. Big thanks to all you guys for watching. That's it for the Wager Alarm live stream. We'll catch you next time.